Okay, so that happened. Pain has sunk in, but that was a week ago.
Yeah,
The the Browns completely got the breaks beaten off of them.
yeah.
I think
Flacco had that game.
the magic has came to an end. Um, Reality has set in again.
Yeah.
Um, Expectations are way too high. The lights were too bright.
I think realistically the expectations and I think in a lot of Browns fans and I think in us were pretty timid. But I think a lot of like the media like that last like week or two really hyped us up to an I don't know like an over expectations that like I don't think were super achievable. Yes, I bought a Joe Flacco jersey. Yes, did I like Joe Flacco? Yes, did I think it's gonna be awesome in 5 years? 100%. But like, you know,
We're
I was just really happy that we made it to the playoffs. Like, did I think we were gonna win the Super Bowl? No. But did I think we were
I
gonna win
did.
last week? I thought we were gonna win last week, and you know, once those two back to back pick sixes happened, I thought we were out of it, and turns out we were. But it was a close game prior to that. But honestly, no one had a good game last week.
I disagree.
How?
There were two players specifically
I know one of them.
that I thought had outstanding games. One, I'm not surprised. Two, big surprise. One, I'll start with the not surprise in
I
JOK.
was gonna say,
I think if
yeah,
you watch the game, there's no
he's incredible.
there is no disagreement there. But
Yeah,
one player decided to show up on the defensive side of the ball, and then offensively, David Bell
yeah,
coming out of the shadows.
yeah. That is
Um,
true. He got that opportunity. Obviously, DPJ got traded away, and Cedric Tillman was out with a concussion. He showed up, man. He looked really good, and like, I mean, how do you feel about me saying this? Is he kind of looked in the role of like Elijah Moore typically is?
yep. And where was Elijah Moore? We don't know.
Yeah, but
He
David Bell did look good, and he looked good in the week that we rested everyone too. I mean, Jeff Driscoll, kind of just laid it up to him, and he made every catch that he could, and
yep,
looked good. So a lot of hope for next year. But back to this game, those two players, I do agree.
yep.
JOK is an absolute stud. I'm very excited to see him.
Extend him.
Yeah, he still has a year,
Yep.
so
Extend him.
yeah,
So I think all in all, just face the facts of this game. Um, I think a lot of the pain it hasn't really hit me yet because of all the situations that were around this team. We had such a big build up of the last 5 games to close out the season.
sure, yeah,
Flacco was throwing over 300 yards a game, 3 touchdowns a game. The defense was outstanding throughout the whole season. Um, this is the first time the offense was just like unstoppable, it seemed.
yeah,
Um, and that's a lot of it made us ignore the true facts of this team. This was the most injured team in the whole NFL
yeah,
with 23% of the roster on the IR.
yeah.
And I think the reality of it is that we were due for a game that it was going to be too much for them. Like the shoe was going to drop. Um,
And you look like basically a fully healthy Texans team.
yes.
Outside of Tank Dell, I mean, they were pretty much healthy. Even Tank Dell is not like their number one receiver.
Right.
So
It was a game that it was kind of like, you know, it just had to be this game that the shoe was going to drop for the Browns. Like, um, defensively, I don't think there was an excuse at all. They got completely beaten up, torn and tattered.
if there's two players that I'm gonna not call out but point out that just were ravished by big plays and let them slip by.
And were awful.
There's no other better word. And
One of them's going to probably win the Defensive Player of the Year and probably shouldn't.
Oh, I was actually gonna go with not with him, but although
I'm
I,
going to
I,
say Miles Garrett.
you didn't really see him. He didn't. He was getting double teamed, and he was getting
He was not.
well, no, he was getting chipped, and then going to Tunsil. So
Tunsil owned him. He didn't have one pressure the whole entire game. Not even shaking C.J. Stroud's composure. Um,
yeah,
Back end Denzel Ward.
I,
Where was he? Uh,
so I was gonna say they didn't throw a ton till Denzel, but what they did was they threw a lot to Greg Newsom, and man, Greg, if you're gonna have like one person to have like you know massively blown coverages and problems just down the stretch, man, Greg just could not keep up, and and I'll say this shows you why Grant Delpit is so vital, is because we talked about how Hickman looked good, he could not keep up and caught himself flat-footed quite too many times,
a lot of
and when
blown
you
coverages.
have that pairing of Greg and Hickman when you're playing zone, it was very bad. It was very bad. A lot of deep balls that were thrown their way that, we went to touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's a lot of problems and just big plays. And they just, yeah, I mean, just being either outran or outshaked, like broken ankles. Like,
Well, we were out coached. We were out hustled. I think what happened was that Houston took advantage of the Browns being too aggressive
they did,
on the
absolutely.
defensive side of the ball. As far as offense went, the Browns continued to have no run game.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
they
something.
put together a total of 23 rushing yards.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a big problem, right?
um,
And I, sorry, I don't want to jump in, but I next year, obviously, we're hoping Nick Chubb will be back. But what version of Nick Chubb will be back is my concern. And what are you gonna? Can you rely on our current backs to get that job done?
no.
And look, we look at the stats, and Jerome Ford had, you know, good stat line, almost 900 yards. But you look at he had big game, 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 150 yards, or you get like 10 or 15 again. It was almost like a definition of a boom and bust with him. And I'd probably say 75 to 80% was going to be a bust. And I like Jerome Ford a lot, but honestly, he's not the big body back that you typically would see as a number two guy. And he doesn't have the ability to kind of like shake off tackles and kind of get those extra yards or those 1 or 2 yards that we need to get a third down as a third down back. So once Chubb comes back, I'm very confused on what he's going to do. I don't really see him as a good solid number two option because he's not the best receiving back. He's not a third down back. So where do you put him? And Kareem Hunt 2 touchdowns in the day last week, but you saw him. He's not. I mean, he's decent at receiving. He's definitely lost that step that we've seen the last year or two. Um, I love Kareem Hunt, but he's not. You can't have him as a first down back, second down back. He is a guy that you go for 1 or 2 yards, but the limitations are really starting to show. Where do you go from there? We have two guys that I'm very concerned about going forward, and in a league where we see guys like Devin Achan get drafted and just be like boom, or Mitchell from the Ravens, like we need a guy, we need a receiving back that consistently just make big plays, and we just don't have that guy. We have Nick Chubb, but we don't have that guy outside of Nick Chubb. And my concern here is just like what Nick Chubb will we get when he comes back?
Well, if we even get Nick Chubb back, um, the reality of all is, if we're looking forward until next season, um, Nick Chubb might be your cap casualty going into next season. You're going to be looking at $15 million underneath the cap, and your running back is going to be making $15 million. So he might be a name that goes. This is a guy that's going to be 28. That's not a good age for a running back, especially a running back you're paying $15 million. He's also on his last year of his contract.
Yes.
So it is a very uncomfortable conversation to talk about the Browns right now because he's a fan favorite. But the reality is, it's not looking good as far as that running back room. Um,
Yeah.
Jerome Ford is the only one that you could say will most likely be there next year. But is he your number one? I don't think
I think we
so.
saw it this year.
I
He's
don't. I don't
not.
think it's been enough. I think what the issue is that Jerome Ford was a young back, and it was only his
Second
second
year,
year.
yeah.
You threw him in. You threw him into the fire. He had good games, but we overlooked that by one play. His best games were decided by run that went for 70 yards,
Exactly. Yeah.
which is
And then he went
it's
for 10 more rushes for like 18.
yes.
Yeah.
The whole big deal with him was he was supposed to be a good receiving back. He had butterfingers,
Yeah.
not very good out of the backfield. He could not hit a hole. Um, his technique was pretty poor, and that's probably why you saw um, Stump Mitchell get the axe, um, this week.
Yeah.
As far as the season altogether, let's not jump too much into the future. Um, it sucks the way it ended,
Sure.
but I guess the coping feeling is this: the Browns are still in a solid situation.
Sure.
Look at these other teams that were knocked out of the playoffs. You're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
That looks like a shit show right now.
It does.
The Dallas Cowboys,
Bigger shit show.
shit show.
Yeah.
The Rams are all right. The Steelers are all right.
Well, and like a lot of the teams, like here's the thing: the Browns. Let's look at it this way. After Watson went out, or even like initially went out, we kind of lost hope, right? We weren't supposed to do anything. And same thing with the Rams, same thing with the Steelers. Like we're in the field of like we weren't really supposed to make a deep playoff. We got hope towards the end, but it was a freaking blast of a season. It was great to watch. The ups and downs were ridiculous. I mean, really was a roller coaster, but it was awesome to see these guys rally, and it was just a fun season, man. Like we went 11-6 this season,
Just a little rally.
just a little rallying, and we had a good time. But 11-6 is an awesome record with having so many people out. I mean, we had so many people out. I mean, we were on our fourth and fifth string tackles. We no Nick Chubb, no Deshaun Watson, and once we have Deshaun Watson out, DTR's out, and then it's like, all right, we're picking up Joe Flacco. I mean, it's a crazy
Yeah.
crazy season, and I mean, I'm just happy for it. I thought it was a great season.
Yes.
Win or lose last week, I don't really care. We made it to the playoffs for the first time in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
It was one of the most enjoyable seasons, and I mean the past 20 years. So
it was so fun.
it was a team that it turned into being Super Bowl contenders to the season's over to
We could possibly make a run.
we could possibly make a run to it's all over. It is crazy how it all happened.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't feel as bad that we lost. I mean, it just
Yeah.
feels bad that we lost the way we did.
Yeah.
But I think NFL playoffs expose those problems that the Browns were having. It's a problem, but when you have problem after problem, question mark after question mark throughout the whole season, and you get where you got, that's pretty good. And you got to live with it. It's not. This is not your 6-10 Browns anymore. You're 1-15 Browns. When's the last time? I mean, Stefanski won Coach of the Year back in 2020, but this year you could say that he ultimately ran away with it. Um, even if D'Amico Ryans wins
After,
the award,
after last week, he
but
probably will.
I still believe with all my heart that that Stefanski is going to win Coach of the Year because of all the stuff they had to overcome to get there. Um, you know, Houston Texans, they're a very young team. He got them to the playoffs in the first year, but you also got to remember he also added the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year back to back picks.
Yeah.
So it's not like super crazy. And they play in a pretty bad division. So, you could easily add fucking 10 wins when
Yeah.
you play a shitty Jacksonville team that led the division the whole year, or a Texans team that never showed up, or a Colts team that was a middle of the road team. Um, and I'm not even trying to discredit them. I'm just trying to. They already had the even playing field. The Browns had high expectations, but injuries took those away. But somehow Stefanski was able to put this team together and rally and get them to the playoffs. And I mean, the city was talking Super Bowl, and I believed with all my heart that they were going to win the Super Bowl this year. Just looking at the rest of the AFC, no one in the AFC, maybe other than Buffalo, was truthfully scary, and it just kind of, um, it just crumbled away last Saturday. But all in all, I think this season showed us a lot about this team.
Sure.
Um, you got to bring back Jim Schwartz by all cost.
Yeah. Sure.
Stefanski, I think this was the best coaching job he's had, as far as play calling, being a leader, just putting together this team. Um, AB, I think he had a great season as well. Um, making the call to Joe Flacco towards the end of the season. Guy coming off the couch, hasn't played barely at all in 2 years and comes out and lights it up. Um, but
Yeah. I the
it's just
I think the best thing here is you look at it and the pieces that we have.
the pieces are there.
The pieces are there, and I think you look at it where like okay, we got to see a lot of our depth pieces, and when you look at this upcoming off season, there's a lot that worked and a lot that didn't work. So I think if you had a very clear plan going into an off season, this is the team to have a perfect clear plan. Of you're looking, all right, this guy didn't do anything. This guy really showed up, exceeded expectations, and basically other expectations kind of fell apart. There's, I think, a pretty clear line between all these players of who should stay, who should go, and where you should add. And going into next season, we have all the pieces, and I think the only way for this team is up at this point. I think I think this offseason you're going to trim a lot of the fat and add a lot of the muscle. And I think that's what's going to happen with this Browns team. And I'm excited for this upcoming year. This season was awesome, and I'm just happy to keep doing this.
Well, I just want to put one word to describe this Browns team this year:
Okay,
resilient.
I like that.
Um,
Works fits very fitting.
they didn't really back down. And when they lost, it wasn't like they lost bad. I mean, like, you want to look at
They kept fighting.
yeah, that like
We grew up in an era with the Browns where the second they were down 2 scores, they just gave up. I mean, you visibly saw the players give up. You saw the coaching staff give up. Not a single time in this entire season did I see this team give up. Even when we were playing the Ravens at home and we were getting freaking smoked with DTR's first start, we didn't give up. We just kept going. And, even maybe they probably should have started to give up a little bit. They never did. And I appreciate a lot of those guys for it. So
yeah, it was a fun ride this year. It sucks that it's over, but I'm ready to go do it again next year.
it's always next year.
Yeah, as we always say in Cleveland, there's always next year. But I think the where we are as a team, you feel a lot better how the season went, and I'm sure that you will hear the rumblings of a Super Bowl contender come next season to start it off with Deshaun coming back, who it's going to be up for debate next year. I'm sure it will be. Um,
4-1 as a starter. Pretty
QBR
good.
rating of 120.
Had a lot of flashes. His last game, he came back down 14, beat the Ravens. It's a lot of good stuff we saw this year. My only concern is it's year 3 now, and I'm still being very patient.
Well, you
Very
can't.
patient.
You can't. I mean, you gotta excuse it. I mean, the dude.
Yeah, I
caught
know.
He got hurt at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But just to get a lot of these guys back and back together would be really nice. Add some pieces.
Yeah.
Get stronger as a team.
Need a receiving back. Receiving back, and I'll say this: we didn't get him this past offseason. DeAndre Hopkins, I think he's gonna come here.
I think this is the year we get D-Hop.
I think he's needed.
Bring in T. Higgins.
Oof.
But no more.
Yeah,
no
that's
more talking about
video.
free
That's
agency.
another video. We'll talk about that later.
We'll see you in a couple months. The Muni Lot Report signing out in year 3. Year 3, closing out. Close this book. Our first playoff season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we'll continue doing updates. When things happen, but it's gonna be a minute. But
it will be a while.
Yeah. So take care. Appreciate you. Go Browns.
Go Browns.